Yeah, so now that since I've gotten back and I posted the 2 videos on my route from over the Hyland Pass and the Telkwa Pass in one day, I've had some questions about my setup and what bike I chose, why I chose it, and say why I chose it over a gravel bike, etc. To be honest with you, there was some folks recently that did do the Telkwa Pass with a gravel bike. I think there was probably a way more hike a bike through the tough sections, especially through all the water and stuff like that. And even though I had to do a little bit of hike a bike, I think this bike allowed me to ride way more of that terrain than on the gravel bike and stuff like that. And then the Hyland, which is the Cronin Trail, lots of single track, pretty interesting, tough terrain and stuff like that, and some climbs that are pretty steep. So I think it would be more challenging on a gravel bike. But that being said, there will be someone out there that has or will attempt to ride that trail on a gravel bike. But and I wish them all the best of luck in that. So, but anyways, for me, I chose my my Norco Torrent S1. It is it's my favorite bike, and I have done most of my adventures on this bike. Took it to New Zealand, did over probably 1,700 kilometers in total, from the 1,600 kilometers on the route, and then other little rides around with it, and it felt so good, very comfortable, and managed everything really well, from the hardtop to a lot of the single track that I rode there, like the Paparoa Trail and the Old Ghost Road and stuff like that, and performed unbelievably. So anyways, to go over the specs of the bike. So as I said, Norco Torrent S1, a hardtail, and chromoly steel in that, so maybe a little bit heavier than your average aluminum bike, but certainly can handle a lot stronger, and I believe it's more responsive than some of the other bikes that I've ridden that are aluminum and that. So up front comes with a really awesome fork, a RockShox Lyric Ultimate, and that 150 mil travel and that. So yeah, it works. I love this fork. Just had it serviced recently by a local bike shop, and did a good job, and it was probably a little bit overdue, but thankfully there are no issues with it, but it's been really solid and stuff like that. So the bike's pretty much almost all stock. Front, there's a 32 sprocket. Pedals are running DRXT clipless and that. So recently upgraded them. I took when I went to New Zealand, I was running Chromag, but I probably, looking back, I would definitely have taken them there. A little bit more comfort and stuff like that. So, and I feel there is a little bit more, gain a little bit more power and control in that. And then especially being a hardtail, my feet definitely stay on the pedals a lot better than the flats and that. So it is a 51 to 10 SLX cassette and that, DRXT derailleur and that. So I am a old school Shimano fan, so I really like Shimano stuff and that. So DRXT hub and that, and I'll share the link to the specs on this bike here. So overall, it used to retail for about $4,000, and more recently they dropped them down to 2,800 bucks and that. So I was honestly hoping and looking for another XL to buy based on that price, because it specs out really well, but unfortunately you cannot find another one. Overall, as far as the way it performs, it is a long bike, so with a head tube angle of 64 and that, so it's a pretty I guess what I would describe as kind of a typical North Shore Vancouver retro style bike and that. So but other than that, no, it's for my rides and my trips, it's been an amazing bike. The only thing I would say is that it is quite long, given it's an XL, for some of the tight switchbacks there, but it was all good. Just had to dab once or twice to get around them and that. So the tires that I was running for this are Schwalbe knobby nicks, and they are 2.6, and they're the speed grips. I bought these specifically for New Zealand from advice from a buddy of mine, And I will be honest with you, I have found these tires to be unbelievable in multiple different types of conditions and stuff like that. So a little bit tricky where it gets to be a little bit muddy and stuff like that, but overall, all around, for all of the type of terrain that I rode on recently over the Hyland and Telkwa Pass, very, very happy with them. Have not had any punctures. And I was just doing some figuring after the ride. I was talking to my buddy that recommended these, and he asked how many kilometers I think I have on them, and I am going to say that I have about 2,000 to 2,200 kilometers on these tires, and the front is probably still at about 80%, and I'm going to say the back is definitely a little bit less. But given the fact that these tires have had a fair bit of kilometers on them, I'm quite happy with them, and I have had 0 punctures with them and that. So during the ride, I was running with 22 in the back, and initially I started off with 18 on the front just because I was doing the Cronin, and then I put some about 2 more pounds in that for when I was on the road and through Telkwa Pass and that. So other than that, changed up the seat. Gets a Chrome Egg lift. Initially was not that comfortable, but I have actually, after doing some adjustments and stuff like it, I found the spot that it works really well, and I had hardly any saddle sores. It's a 172 kilometer ride and that, so it was pretty comfortable. In other videos I've probably showed this, but I've got these chrome gas tank bags, just typical, in there for food, and usually put my GoPro and stuff like that in it, easy access. Just some snacks as I'm riding in that. And then the bigger chrome bag, which carries battery storage pack in that, and then some food, some tools, and some repair kits and stuff like that. So just general stuff. I did carry a water bottle, of course, with that, but this was for most of my electrolytes. I had a bladder bag backpack, which just carried just clear water and that. So, and then of course in this country, bear spray, even though I didn't see any, and I haven't had to deploy my bear spray at all this year, but yeah, really good mounting system for bear sprays here, and yeah, it's pretty good. And then of course took a light just in case I was delayed and had issues and had to ride in the dark, but fortunately I did not have to. And that, so up front, got these TR IMAX Vision aero bars. Put them on for this ride specifically because I did have a fair bit of, I think I had about, what, 20 kilometers of actual asphalt that I was riding on, and then a fair bit of gravel roads and stuff like that. So this helped with just different body position, and when I was in situations where I could kind of just get into them and gain a little bit more speed and break the wind a little bit more. So yeah, they worked out really well in that. So my computer of choice is the Wahoo Element Roam. I really like this one. I was considering a Garmin ones, but wanted to go with the Wahoo just because some of the Garmin stuff I've owned in the past I haven't really been overly happy with, specifically Bluetooth connectivity and just some of that stuff. It's been a little bit problematic. To date, I've had no issues with this here, and it actually connects very, very well Bluetooth, like almost instantly, with my phone, and even on my other bikes I've got that Garmin radar, and that it connects really, really well and stuff like that. So really like this. I chose the ones with the push buttons just because experience of working with phones and screens when they're wet it's a real pain in the butt. Sometimes they don't work, so better to have the buttons and stuff like that so you have no issues. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I gotta say, it is by far my favorite bike to ride, and I've done a fair bit of miles on it, and majority of my bike packing has been done on this, and I love the fact that it can handle well on the road, and but it can handle a lot of the steep backcountry single track and all that type of stuff too, right? So folks will say, well, you're probably not going to get the speed that you want on the flats and that, but I'm going to say that I was probably averaging maybe 2 to 3 kilometers less than an hour than what a gravel bike would do on some of the hardtop roads that I was on. But then once I got into those the climbs and the single track and the downhills that were really chunky and stuff like that, I believe I would definitely make up that difference of time and way more comfort and stuff like that. So anyways, I mean, the stats are in my thing. riding time for 172K, and it was 3,042 meters, was around 10 hours and 20 minutes, so not too bad. I credit that a lot to the bike. That's the bike, and yeah, interested to hear people's feedback on that. So if you can find one of these, I would highly recommend picking one up. And if you can find an XL, let me know.